Step lively, folks. For the first time in the history of this channel, we're doing a villain sale. That's right. If you order one villain, we will throw in an extra villain and 2 extra characters for absolutely free. That's right. You get 4 characters for the price of 1. This deal will only be here for a limited time, so get it while it lasts. Okay. In my previous video, I said we were going to talk about the Nowhere King. So here we are. Netflix was cooking when they made the Nowhere King. They really Powerpuff Girl'd this guy together. The theme of Frollo, the build-up and treachery of Bellos, the terror of the Lich, and the tragedy of Andreas, all in one villain. Let's talk about why the Nowhere King is such a good villain by breaking down each of these parts, and then discuss why he is so much less famous than characters like Bill Cipher or Bellos. First, let's talk about theme. I'm not talking about theme in terms of storytelling. I'm talking about theme in terms of musical accompaniment. The Nowhere King's song, aptly called The Nowhere King, I know, real creative, is rather jarring and scary when it is first heard. We were kind of just chilling with the main cast of the Centaur world when the flowers start singing. The song sounds a lot like a children's lullaby at first. However, the key shifts throughout the song that slowly change into more minor and discordant tones let you know that something's off. But even before the tone shifts, from the very start of the song, something is wrong. Far off in the back of the chorus, you can hear a voice that isn't singing. Rather, it is whispering. The words are also just wrong. The lyrics make reference to a place where the singing and laughter have died. Furthermore, they state that you will bring joy to the Nowhere King when he sees the light leaving your eyes. The way the flowers are smiling while singing about a creature of pure evil creates an extremely powerful feeling of cognitive dissonance. I've been watching like a lot of shows that have music in them. I just finished Has Been Hotel, loved it. And to even lesser extents, there are shows like Steven Universe and Adventure Time where music plays a large part in their story. And in those, song is used as a way for the characters to communicate with each other. So the song is usually like noticed. But for the Nowhere King's song, it seems like only we, the audience, can actually hear it. I think it's maybe referenced once. But besides that, none of the characters seem to notice it. And the flowers are looking directly into the camera. Not camera, but you know what I mean. Into the screen. And it creates this extremely terrifying feeling that something is just wrong. And this feeling of unease leads right into my next topic. The buildup and the mystique of the Nowhere King. Episode 7 of a season with 8 episodes is the first time we actually see the Nowhere King. This is a fantastic buildup. He's been pretty much absent, save for the first song and a second reprise of the song. So when at the end of the episode 7, our main heroes are sealed inside of this dimensional void by a character claiming that it is better to let them die than to let what is trapped in the void out. You know something's going to go down. The brilliance of this is that the characters, Horse and Rider, have already been in the void and nothing happened. So when the Nowhere King reveals itself, you're in for a bit of a shock. We're going to now talk about its design. Jesus Christ on a stick. This dude is absolutely terrifying. They were probably designing this guy and had people write out their fears. So words like wasp, spider, drowning, inescapable, doom, skeleton, massive objects, and like Wendigo were all written up on this whiteboard. And everyone in this room was arguing about what they should pick from the board to do this design. And then from the back of the room, some dude named Jerry goes, "Hey, what if we combined all of them?" To which the group leader would reply, "But won't that scare the kids?" To which Jerry responds, "No, it should scare the adults as well." And it does. I watch horror movies for fun, and I recoil when this thing emerges. When he started singing his own song, I was ecstatic, knowing just how many kids would never be sleeping again because of him. His design is straight nightmare fuel. He's a massive wasp with a elk skull for a head that's made of this like black sludge. Good Lord, it's amazing. But I mean, none of that explains why I love the Nowhere King so much. He's just a cool looking lich then, right? Wrong. From the moment he kneels at the feet of the stranger, ready to accept his death, you know something is going to go down. And then nothing does. You find yourself trapped in a limbo of not knowing this guy's backstory. So you wait, and then you wait some more, and then you wait some more. Nothing. Then you reach the literal final episode of the show. Honestly, you can spend an hour and a half just watching the 2 season finales of Centaur World, and you will walk away having seen one of the greatest villains in animation. But anyway, let's break down the tragedy of the Nowhere King by talking about his story in chronological order. Then we can talk about how the Nowhere King also just decides to pull being one of the best twist villains out of his ass. We get this backstory in a really cool way because it's delivered sort of out of order by this random elk inside of the Nowhere King's mind, because main character Horse has this ability to like dive into people's memories, and people usually can't see her, but this random elk inside of the Nowhere King can, and it claims that it is the Nowhere King, and she's like, no, that can't be right. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm the Nowhere King, and you know, we're actually a lot more like you and I. And she's like, nah, we can't be. And she's like, yes, we are. Anyway, the Nowhere King started out as a centaur, or more accurately, an elk-tar, who worked on maintaining the rift between the worlds. One day, he would meet the princess of the human world and would fall in love. However, due to the fact that humans treat centaurs as lesser, he believed that he could never be enough for her. This is shown with some very nice visual and audible storytelling, especially when you realize that he cut off his own horns so that he would look more human, despite it clearly being something that would be very painful to him. It's a really eerie moment when you see the horns next to the saw in his workshop, after he claimed it was just a seasonal thing that they fell off. Anyway, seeking to rid himself of the elk parts of himself, he uses magic to split his animal half and human half. The only problem was that both halves contained his exact consciousness. From there, we see the human part of the Nowhere King marry the princess, essentially getting everything he wanted. We then see the human and elk parts meet next to this riverbed. The elk suggest that they should return to how they once were, and that they'd never even tried to make the human princess fall in love with them as they were as a centaur, and that she might have loved them when they were whole. The human part of the Nowhere King, who I will be henceforth be referring to as the General, because that's what he's called in the show, refuses. The elk then threatens to reveal their secret to the princess. Upon hearing this, the General flips out and starts to drown the elk in the nearby pond, only to start coughing up water himself. It is then revealed that each half of the Nowhere King can't live without the other. The General then imprisons the elk for 10 years so that his secret never be revealed. However, it doesn't work because the princess discovers the elk and frees him. The elk then creates an army of minotaurs, which are people fused with animals. And using the machine that he used to split himself, he now fuses creatures into centaurs, creating these monsters that he controls, until eventually he is sealed within that void between worlds. Okay, now that we've speedran his history, let's talk about why this is very important to understanding his character. The most important part to understanding his character, I believe, is the perspective through which the story unfolds. It's told from the elk's point of view, which is the part of the Nowhere King that would go to become the Nowhere King. So we see the story through the Nowhere King's eyes, and thus it is very easy to say that the Nowhere King isn't evil. He's just someone that has been hurt. It seems like the Elktar, at his core, is a tragic character, and this is correct, but only slightly. It gives him way too much leeway, because at his core, the Elktar is selfish. It becomes easy to vilify the general and call him selfish, but if we take a look at the story through the general's eyes, it changes the entire tone of the story. In the general's eyes, he succeeded in splitting himself and succeeded in getting to be with his love. And it is the Nowhere King, or the Elk, that is standing in the way of his happiness and is selfishly trying to cast away all of his hard work for a pipe dream that the princess might love them as they are when they're whole. This is a very long way to say that the Nowhere King is one of the most complex and well-written characters in any animated show. Furthermore, the fact that we are introduced to the general before we are introduced to the Nowhere King makes this a fantastic twist and makes the general one of the best twist villains in animation. However, before we move on to talking about why the Nowhere King is relatively underappreciated, let's talk about his final moments. After the general is pushed to his death, the princess uses the artifact to refuse the general and the Nowhere King. At this point, you get the best song in the entire series. It is a beautiful duet with the princess and the Elktar. I believe this is where the tragedy of the Nowhere King comes from, not his backstory, because, again, he was the only one to blame for his failings. But this song is great, because the song is the princess facing down not only the one who ruined her life, but also her one true love. You can see and hear how much this tears her up inside. The Elktar also admits his mistakes in this song and accepts his death at the hands of his love, freeing her from all the pain and all of the lies that he, as the general and as the Nowhere King, and as the Elktar, has subjected her to. And in that moment, at the end of the song, the princess squeezes her eyes shut as tears pour from them and kills the Nowhere King. Ultimately, the Nowhere King is a pathetic character whose self-loathing drove him to become a monster. His love for the princess was fake because he could never love himself. Thus, his first true act of love, loving the princess enough to let her go, is also, tragically, his last act ever. In my opinion, the Nowhere King surpasses Bill Cipher, Ice King, and even Bellows. He is truly only beaten by Andreas in terms of quality when it comes to animated TV show villains. So why is he so much less popular than those villains that I mentioned? The answer is simple. Owl House, Gravity Falls, and Amphibia are all fantastic shows that are enjoyable to watch at any age, with unique characters, good dialogue, and good comedy that hits the spot no matter how old you are. Now let's talk about the show that the Nowhere King is found in. Centaur World is an objectively unenjoyable show. Unless you appreciate one laugh per half hour and all the rest of the time cringing so hard that the veins in your neck become strong enough to solo Godzilla, in which case then you probably think this is a good show. But it's just not. It really is a shame because the Nowhere King is such a fantastic villain. So my advice to you is just watch both season finales with no context, and you will walk away satisfied. You don't need context. I pretty much skipped the entire second season and still love him. Anyway, that's all. This is a shorter video because the last one took roughly 46 years to edit. I appreciate it. I got a deep dive for Andreas coming up, and then probably a deep dive for Taskmaster, comic book Taskmaster coming up. So hopefully you'll enjoy those. Thank you for watching. Please like, sub. Really means a lot. Makes my day. Hopefully makes your day, because you know that you made my day. And giving is truly the greatest gift. Peace. Love y'all.